Hello everyone, this is Pooky Codes and welcome back to part 8 of Python full course, and today we're going to look at dictionaries. More precisely, we're going to look at how to get an element from a dictionary, how to remove an element, how to add an element, and also some methods you can invoke on a dictionary such as items, keys, as well as values. So let's get started. So, what are dictionaries? So, we need to first understand why dictionaries are useful. So, what is their purpose? So, I'm just going to do a scenario. And so, let's say we had a list of elements. So, for example, if I had a list of names such as James, Bob, I don't know, Andre, Polly, and then maybe Jake, Jake A, Jake B, Jake C, Jake D. And I wanted to search for a name. And let's say I want to search for the name Polly. Then the way I will have to do it is that I will have to go through each element in the list and then say, okay, is this equal to this? Is this equal to Polly? 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 And then here, it's going to say yes. And then it's going to return where it belongs. So it's ranking. So this is 0th, 1st, 2nd, 3rd. And then it will return the 3rd. So we can try and write a function for it. So let's say I have my list is equal to this. And my goal is to create a function that will return the first index of it. So define find name, and then you have names, you have names, and you have target name. So these are functions that we've learned. So what we are going to do is that we're going to use a for loop to go over each stuff. So for name in names, if name is equal to target name, then it means that we found it. So what I need to do is that I'll need to return the index. So count is equal to 0 at first, and then each time count plus equal to 1, and if name is equal to target name, then I return count. Else I'll just say I will return none, so it doesn't exist. So let's find name of my list, and let's find Bob. I can print this, and then I'll get as result 1. So this is correct. What if I said, I don't know, Jake ED, and then you'll see I'll have 8. But there is one drawback from this approach, and the drawback from this approach is that when I want to search for the last element, such as JKD, then I will have to go over each element and then say, oh, it's the last element. And even worse is when I don't know if an element exists, then if I'm searching, for example, let's say, I don't know, Carl, if I search for Carl, it's not going to be there at all, but the code will have to go through every single name. So if you had 1 million names, then it would mean that you would have to go over 1 million names just to verify if that name exists. So how does dictionaries come into play? Dictionaries are another way of storing your data, and how you do it is that you have a key and a value. So a dictionary is a set of key-value pairs. And when you are going to search for the key, it's going to return the value. So what does it mean? So I'm just going to create, I'll just keep this, and I'll say my dict is equal to a dictionary. You use curly braces for it, And then all I have to do is that I have James, and I'm going to assign it the 0. I have Bob, going to assign 1. Then I have Andre, then 2. I have Polly, 3. Jake, 4. And just going to use some awesome Vim key bindings. Jake B, Jake C. Go up, and then Jake D. And so this is how you do a dictionary. So what this is going to be is that you'll have a set of key value pairs. So I can search for Bob and it will return 1 for me. I can search for Jake and it will return 4 for me. I can search for Jake D and it will return 8 for me. So how do I get an element from this is that I just need to do print and then my dict, and I can say what do I want to search, Jake A. If you'll see, it's going to be the second output, it's going to be 5, and this is what we want. So we're going to rewrite our find name, but this time with a dictionary. So define find name dict. It has a names dict as well as a target name. And what I'll just do is that I will just return names dict target name. And there's going to be an error if I do something special. And you'll see what it is. So I'm going to still do find name dict, then my dict with what target name, Andre. So let's run it. And then I'll have to print it, of course, and I'll see that I get 2. So this is what we want. If I search for JKD, then it's going to have 8. So one difference from the list approach is that when you have a dictionary, when you want to search for a key, it does not need to go through all other keys. Rather, it's just going to directly get the value. So dictionaries allow you to find the value instantaneously given a key. And so this is very useful. So if you do any coding interview questions, dictionaries are the way to go. So this function is not complete yet because when I put a name that does not exist, such as Carl, and I'll run it, I'll get a error. So key error Carl. And of course we can do a try except and then say, oh, well then since except key error, then return none. So I can do something like this. So this is from the guess the number video. So try, I'm trying to return something, except if I have a key error, then I will return none. And you'll see that it will run. Although it's not the approach that I prefer. So please repo.it, please be friendly to us. And we have none. Nice. I'm now going to introduce the second approach, which is the approach I prefer. And the reason is that you don't have to get some errors handling. So what you're going to do is that you're only going to search for the value of target name if target name exists in names dict. So if target name in names dict, then I will return it. Else, I'll return none. And if I run it and they're friendly, yeah, oh nice. You see, I also get a none. So this is very good. So target name in names dict is an expression that will evaluate to true if target name is in names dict. So for example, what is in names dict? James, Bob, Andre, Polly, Jake, JK, Jake B, Jake C, Jake D, and all that. But it does not include the values. So if I say is 8 in names dict, so if this 8 is in names dict, it's going to return false because it only looks at the keys. Then when it is in the dictionary, then it's going to return the value. So for Andre, it's going to return 2. If it doesn't exist, then I would just return none. And in coding, this approach is far more superior than this one. And the reason is that for an element that doesn't exist, it is also instantaneous because it's just going to say, okay, there's no key that exists. It does not need to go through each key element and then say, okay, does this exist? Does this exist? Is it this? Is it this? Is it that? Is it that? It just needs to go, hey, does this key exist? Nope. And then that's all. Well, in the list, it's going to say, please, does this exist? Does this exist? Does this exist? Does this exist? To each single element. And then when you went over your 1 million, 1 trillion elements, it's going to say, well, nope, it doesn't exist. But if you had a dictionary of 1 trillion elements, it's going to say, Shazam, no, it doesn't exist. And when you want to retrieve an element at the index, it's also going to say, Shazam, here you go. So dictionaries are very, 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 very awesome. So now we're just going to look at more methods of a dictionary. So let's say I want to delete a name from the dictionary. Then what I can use is the del keyword. So I can say del and then my dict and I'll say JD. So what I can do is I can print before deleting my beautiful F strings and after deleting. So before deleting, you'll see that here I have James, Bob, Andre, Polly, Jake, JK, JP, blah blah blah. And here you'll see that Jake D is no longer there. So when you say del my dict Jake D, it's going to delete it. So you have to make sure you put your square brackets, then you put a string inside to search for it. So you put the dictionary you want, square brackets, then the string you want to put. So this is very awesome. So we're now going to look at the keys function. And the keys function is just going to return a list from the dictionary, a list of keys. So let's say I do my dict.keys, I can print it. And you run it, and I'll have dict keys is of this. And you'll see that this is not a list yet, but whenever you want to convert something to a certain type, you just need to put that type and then parenthesis, and it's going to convert it. So I can just say list of this. And I'll have James, Bob, Andre, Polly, Jake, JK, JB, JC, JD, and all this. If I want to do the values, it's going to return each of these indices, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And I can do print list my dict dot values. I run it, and you'll say I get 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There's also items. I can print list my dict dot items. And you'll see that I have a list of a pair of elements. So when you have parentheses, you can treat it as a list. So it's the same thing as a list, but it's actually called a tuple. And the difference between a tuple and a list is that a tuple, you cannot modify it. So once it's created, you can't modify it. So James with 0, Bob with 1, Andre with 2, Polly with 3. And what this does is just that it's going to regroup the key with its matching value together in a beautiful list for you. So I guess now we can just do a recap. So we've seen that dictionaries are useful versus lists because it allows you to find if an element exists instantaneously, and it also allows you to retrieve a certain value for a given key also instantaneously. While compared to the list, to find if an element exists, you will have to go through all the list to see if it exists, which is much more inefficient compared to the dictionary approach. You'll also see that you can use the keys function, which is going to return a dict list of keys, but you're not going to use this as itself, so you're going to convert to a list before. And for my dict.values, you can also convert to a list before, and my dict.items you can convert to a list, and then they're each going to return here the list of keys, the list of values, and a list of key value paired together. So to index an element in a dictionary, you can use my dict square bracket with the quotation mark double quotes, so for strings, with the string you want to put in question, and you can also create a new element. So if you want to add an element to the dictionary, you just need to do my dict, and then let's say for Carl, which has been forgotten for so long, my dict Carl is equal to 9, and I can print my dict. And finally here you see this last one, Carl is included. So welcome to the club, Carl. And so that was it for a dictionary, and I hope you liked it. Thanks for watching. If you like this content, like, subscribe, do all that good stuff. And in the next video, we are going to look at classes in Python. So stay tuned.